Yeah, Cassandra, how's it going?
Good. It's going great. I'm psyched.
And now we're immediately going to go to like more sad news, and we'll talk about a lot of this Antifa stuff. So, all right, we'll just try and get back on track, I guess. Thanks for hanging out. Smash the like button again because we're working very hard in real time. You're watching us, and joining me, of course, is Cassandra Fairbanks, not for the fifth time. And let's talk about the first story, man. Jake Gardner.
This is a sad one. Actually, I cover heartbreaking things every day. Like, I cover terrible things and tragedy and things that really upset me, but this one hit me in like a completely different way. I mean, I was sobbing while I wrote it.
I'm going to get really angry as we talk about this, just so you know. Jake Gardner was a small business owner. The businesses nearby his bar were attacked. His dad, I guess, was telling the guys, like, back off and, like, shoved one of them or something. And then there's video of all this. The dude runs up and just decks Gardner's dad.
A 70-year-old man.
70-year-old man. So Gardner shows that he's got a weapon. These guys start walking towards him. And you of course, you've seen one of the videos where you can hear the audio.
Yeah.
And he's saying, don't do it, right? He's like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. And he's backing up, retreating. And they attack him. They knock him into the ground. He fell in water, I think, right? He fell into like a puddle in the street.
Yeah.
And then this guy, I think his name is James Scurlock, correct?
Yes.
Jumps on his back with his arm around his neck. Gardner had already warned them several times. He fired 2 warning shots. 2 guys run off. Dude jumps on his back. And then he switches the gun to his left hand, reaches over and fires, shooting the dude in the clavicle, killing him. They took everything from this guy. So I don't know. Do you want to tell us, just like, elaborate on the details? Because you've been talking to his friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So he lost his business. He lost his everything.
His apartment. I mean, everything. Everything was taken from him. I mean, friends turned on him. His whole life was uprooted, you know? I mean, acquaintances, people that he knew, like people who went to his bar, people who worked at his bar, all these people were coming out against him. And it was really sad because it was so clear that it was self-defense. And
why he got indicted.
Yeah. Well, the district attorney originally said that this is self-defense. It's clear cut. You know, he didn't do anything wrong. And then protesters started showing up at the district attorney's house. They were threatening to riot. It was a disaster. And so the city caved in and they hired a special prosecutor. He decided to bring it before a grand jury, came up with 4 charges. I think the maximum he was going to face was 95 years. And then it's just outrageous.
The day he was supposed to turn himself in, they found him reportedly with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Yeah, and 20 minutes from Portland.
What was he doing on the West Coast?
Well, he had lost everything, so I've heard that he was staying with his uncle out on the West Coast.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So the landlord kicked him out.
Yeah.
I hope that landlord never rents that property again.
And the landlord for the bar, the bar where he was the building.
That's
he
what I
was
mean.
leasing. Yeah. But his apartment too.
He got kicked out of his apartment?
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
And GoFundMe shut his defense down.
Yep. But you can raise all the bail money you want for rioters.
Kamala Harris can ask for bail money for the rioters.
Yeah.
This is why we're in the middle of nowhere and why we actually struggled to get the stream going today, and why Ian can't talk and why Lydia can't talk either because the mics aren't working.
I think my mic's working.
You think it's working?
I think so, yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think here, talk.
Hi, hey everybody! I finally got a chance to say something. What's that? Hey, you can manhandle that mic. You can like pull it forward and turn it.
All right.
You're going right at it.
I think your mic is working.
Hey,
people are like, Ian, we can hear you.
Okay, enough.
But we can't hear ourselves. Okay. Anyway, I'm like, we're past all of that. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of nowhere because this is not the first time we saw a story of someone being attacked by the mob. And this is the craziest thing. This dude was retreating, backing away. Don't do it. And then he fired warning shots. He clearly did not want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
The craziest thing about the indictment of this guy is that they claimed that it was the use of a firearm while committing a felony. And the felony was terroristic threats. And the terroristic threats were him saying, don't do it, back away.
Yeah. And that he was on fire patrol, like making sure that his building didn't burn down.
Yep.
Like, what planet are we on? What country are we in?
This happened to you.
Yeah.
They came to your house. Mm-hmm. And then their allies in media desperately tried to claim you made it up.
Yeah. They ran cover for the people who came to my house. They were like, oh, they just shot fireworks down the street. Like, you know where I lived.
Yep.
I was not in downtown. I wasn't in a very city area.
Relative to this,
Well,
we're
relative to
gone.
this, yes.
Like we're in the mountains now.
But I mean, they claimed to have talked to my neighbors, said that it didn't happen. When in reality, like Alan Bakari from Breitbart and my boyfriend went and talked to my neighbors, and they were like, "No, we didn't talk to."
He made it up.
Any right wing outlet or any right wing watch. And they were like, "No, we like you. Like, we came to your Halloween party. Why would we trash you?"
Yeah.
And they were the only house with a BLM sign in their window. So it was like, you made up this entire story to run cover for people who just terrorized my child.
To specify what exactly happened, I know a little bit about it.
So I was trolling pretty hard on Twitter, admittedly. I went pretty hard during the riots. And the night that they burnt down the church in in D.C., people had posted my address and my phone number, and they were threatening to come to my house. They were threatening me. They were threatening my child. And I was pretty nervous about it, but I had gotten this kind of stuff a lot before, so I was like, whatever, it'll be fine. You know, I'm just going to keep a loaded gun next to my bed, but no big deal. 4 a.m. hits, the rioters pretty much dispersed, and then all of a sudden my whole house just like lights up from all sides. And they were shooting commercial grade fireworks at my house. I mean, I thought it was gunshots, but they said later that, you know, it was probably just the really large fireworks. But then they started banging on my windows, and it was.
How did they find out where you lived?
Through subpoenas that got posted online from people trying to get my conversations with Julian Assange, actually. But that's a whole other story.
Are these people pro Assange? I don't even understand.
No.
Are they pro anything?
No.
It's such a weird.
They just want to tear everything down.
Yep, I know. Yeah, I have no other way to explain it. So I'll tell you a funny story. I was in a conversation with some buddies. You know, like Ian. We share a living space along with many other people. And so the day that happened, the morning, it was like afternoon. Okay, but it was the afternoon, and I was talking to everybody, and I was like, listen, man, things are getting spicy. Okay, so you need to understand that the show that I do, the people that we have come through here and stuff, this is probably going to be a target too. Like, you were trolling pretty hard. Not like you deserved it or anything like that, but, you know, I don't. And so I was just like, I don't think it matters. I think they'll come for you when they decide, whether it's now because Cassandra's pushing back or because I do a story they don't like. And general sentiment, I guess, from everybody was like, okay, you know, we'll see, whatever, sure. And then the next day, I took a bunch of my recurve bows and I like just propped them up, got them ready. And the general sentiment was, what's going on? And the general response was, they showed up to Cassandra Fairbanks' house. They were banging on windows. They were firing fireworks at it. And it's only a matter of time before they start targeting lesser, like, I don't want to say lesser known in regards to us because we're not like mainstream media or anything. But like Tucker Carlson's like the top tier, biggest cable channel, period.
Right.
Our cable show. So they went to his house.
Right.
Now they're going to other people's houses.
It's going to keep moving in. The window of acceptable discourse where you're safe from this is going to get smaller and smaller.
Chat's asking to turn Cassandra up a little bit, and when you have it, point it right at your face.
Is this better?
Yeah, speak into it like it's a tube.
Also, I have tooth aligners in, so I'm talking terribly. I'm sorry.
But this is the problem of not having headphones.
Yeah.
Because you can hear yourself, and then you're like, oh, I'm really quiet. And when you don't have it, you know.
Yeah.
But we're in the middle of nowhere, having trouble with setting up the studio simply because, I mean, I gotta be honest, it's a combination of I work too much. If I took one day off, we could have built the studio properly. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep working. I have another studio downstairs, and getting away from the cities because this is happening. And as things have gotten crazier and crazier, I'm just like, dude, I'm not having it. I know I've said it a million times, but it's not just this Omaha bar owner. They went to that guy's house in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Let's talk about this guy in Milwaukee. So, what was the story? He was a racist.
They claim that he was racist, but he got into a fight with his black neighbor. Don't know what it was about. I'm assuming it was some kind of like neighborhood dispute about the yard or whatever. She told a bunch of people on social media that he was racist, and there's this protest group in Milwaukee, and they're throwing like, I think it's justice protest parties or something. And what it is they're doxing people, posting their addresses in this group and showing up on their front lawns to protest and terrify them and intimidate them and threaten them. I mean, they were outside his house for 3 hours screaming threats into a bullhorn.
This is a regular guy.
Yeah, regular guy.
they said he's a racist.
Yeah.
So that 3 hours in front of his house, and he got arrested.
Yep. And the police were like nowhere to be found. They were streaming the whole time, proudly streaming themselves, threatening him. And he's sitting inside his house, didn't confront them, didn't say anything to them, but he visibly had a shotgun.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to make it
pointed
clear.
at the window. I don't think he opened the window though.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if he really like pointed it or if he was like adjusting his position, like maybe he was moving, getting off his elbow. It wasn't like he was like
I think he pointed it.
I don't know.
I think he pointed it.
I don't care if he did personally.
Right.
Like, get off my lawn. I'm that lady. So
there's so much here that is deeper than just this story. And first, I'll just say my biggest criticism is how the media runs defense all the time, nonstop. So these mobs that have been showing up and doing this, they've gone to other houses where, in one instance, they almost burnt it to the ground. They set it on fire, and there was a mob outside. 2 people got shot. I should say people. Two teenagers, 14-year-olds, got shot during this. Like, they were looking for missing girls that weren't actually missing.
This is the same group, too.
Same group.
Yeah.
Same group, same guy, same community activist. And so that's the point. So imagine you're sitting at home. It's Saturday night. You cracked open a couple brews. You're watching the game, or I don't know. That guy probably was not watching the game. He's probably watching Netflix or something. What's on Amazon? I don't know.
No Netflix.
Netflix? No Netflix. He got rid of Netflix. He's got a Trump flag. That guy got rid of Netflix.
He got rid of Netflix.
He had a Trump flag in front of his house. The mob shows up. It's the same guy who was at the other house where they shot 2 kids and they set fire to the house twice. And so what's he thinking? He grabs his gun.
Right.
Then they say because he was drunk. And so this is something that Lydia brought up as a really good point. Imagine you're chilling at home and you're drinking and you're not wasted, but you have a couple beers, and then a mob shows up and threatens your safety. I'm not saying that the rioters or the Black Lives Matter people are going to break in or anything. I'm just saying, let's imagine a scenario where you happen to have been drinking when someone's about to break into your house.
Yeah.
If you defend your house, then are they going to say, "Oh, you were drunk. Sorry."
Yeah, it's insane. Even if he was wasted, he should be able to defend his house. It's just incredible to me.
It seems like because they were on the street and not on his property.
They definitely entered onto his property.
Oh, they did?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They were definitely on his lawn at several points.
Wow.
Like, they were not, respecting property boundaries or anything.
They don't believe in property.
Yeah.
Did you see that Black Lives Matter removed their mission statement?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it's gone from their website apparently.
Whoa. That was the only thing I had on their side.
Their mission statement?
Yeah, it's
disrupting the nuclear family.
It was about economic equality. They had a few points where I was like, how can I understand what they want, like, positively?
I don't trust anything these people have to say anymore. Not like I trust Republicans all that much, but when they repeatedly say that they're fighting for justice, but then literally attack, like they're not fighting against racism, they're attacking Black and brown people. When I have to wonder if the goal is to make more and more people just vote for Donald Trump.
I mean, it's going to work.
Yeah,
I would not be voting for Trump this year if this wasn't happening.
Really?
Yeah, I'm upset about the Julian Assange thing. I voted for Trump. I believe in a lot of his policies, his campaign promises. I am right wing, but I'm very upset with what he's doing to Julian Assange, and I would sit it out and protest if Democrats weren't running around being domestic terrorists.
You weren't always right wing.
No,
So I know, but for the audience's sake, you were like a big Bernie.
Yeah,
you were out there with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I mean, I was writing for a libertarian website that was pretty harsh on police and pretty anarchist bent. And I went and covered Ferguson, and I was very upset about the Kelly Thomas case in Orange County, which was a man who actually was innocent and was beat to death by police in a very shocking video. So when they first came out, I was like, cool, people are going to talk about this. Maybe we can get justice for Kelly Thomas. Awesome. Rock on. Do your thing. And then as I watched what they were doing, I just became more and more disenchanted with it and completely repelled me eventually. I
remember you told me a story about how you actually got attacked for being white.
Yeah.
And you're not even, I mean, I don't know what you're Puerto Rican.
I'm a Puerto Rican. Yeah.
Puerto Rican is that? Because you told me that's what it's called, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting how when they started attacking other minorities who didn't agree with them, they started saying it's whiteness instead of you're white. It used to be like you're a white male. Then it was like when Candace Owens would come around or people like you or me, it's like it's whiteness.
Yeah.
Like now it's just the concept of, which can be adopted by anybody. Now you're white, Ian.
Well, I've got a friend who's a black albino. It's the most mind-bending thing. He's African American,
probably white in there on their chart.
He's as white as me, but he identifies as black. It's just not. I mean,
It depends if he's right or left wing. Then they'll figure out what his color or what his ethnicity is. I think
maybe the whole goal is to just remove this concept of race in general. Like they say it, they don't believe race exists. They think there's no genetic component to any of it. And then when you start saying when they start saying that, like, well, remember that article I think it was Huffington Post that black men are the white people of black people.
Yeah,
things like that where it's like.
I think that they genuinely have an issue with white people. So, I mean, I don't know if I agree on that one. I think that they genuinely, like, it's becoming very apparent that there's a massive disdain, particularly for men, but for women too. The whole Karen meme and what they did to Amy Cooper. There's just this weird, it's almost like revenge. Like they're trying to get revenge or something.
I don't think it's revenge. I think it's just a cultist scapegoat.
Yeah.
Well, they simultaneously say that Donald Trump is scapegoating immigrants. It's like when you talk about all this whiteness and white privilege, like literally the concept of whiteness, where you saw the thing in the Smithsonian where they claimed that time and hard work are traits of white people. It's like, yeah, okay. Like, so there's an old joke. I don't know if you guys have seen the John Cleese thing where he's like, this is a simplified version. It's an old joke, and then it's been expanded upon where he's like, if you want to be a right-wing fellow, here's a list of people you can hate. And then he goes through all the people like the right supposedly hates. And then he's like, now if you find yourself wanting to be a left-wing extremist, here's a list of people that you can choose to hate. And then he goes through a list of people. And the joke about it is that at the end he says, he's like, when he's talking about the right-wing people, or I'm sorry, the people that right-wing hates, he ends with, and moderates. And then when he goes to the left-wing people, he ends once again with moderates, like both sides hate him. But there's an expanded joke where it's like, if you want to be a traditional conspiracy theorist, all right, then you're angry at the Illuminati. They control the banks. They start all the wars. They're responsible for all the oppression. Now, if you're a neo-Nazi, well, then you just replace Illuminati with the word Jew. If you're an Occupy Wall Street activist, you replace the word Jew with the 1%. If you're an intersectionalist, you replace the 1% with white people or whiteness. They always say basically the same things about all of the groups they believe are oppressing them, and none of it is true. It's just extremism. But I will say it's kind of coming full circle, too. It's really interesting. In that a book, I don't know if you guys saw it, the In Defense of Looting. Have you seen that one?
I've seen it.
Apparently, there's like a portion of it where they say that Jewish people and Asians are like the face of capital or something. That's their claim. And it's like, that sounds horribly racist and anti-Semitic. Where are you going with this?
The new Black Panther Party protested a Chinese restaurant in D.C.
What?
Remember?
When was that? Why?
I don't even remember why. They were just... But it was a few months ago. They went... It was... what's the name of the restaurant? It was in D.C. I've been there before. Really good. They showed
Why were they
up,
protesting it?
I don't remember. But it was like the most ridiculous thing. And I think they were claiming that like... Yeah, Yum Yums. That's what it was.
Why were they protesting it?
I wrote about it and I'm completely blanking. It's been a really extreme day today.
We're definitely going to get this all fixed and then have you come back like later in the week for sure.
But they they were saying basically that Asians are white people now too. So
that's why they say BIPOC.
Yeah.
Black, indigenous, people of color. Asians don't count.
Yeah.
So it's really bad for someone like me, like they really hate me.
Yeah.
I was at a protest in, I think it was Seattle, at UW, University of Seattle, Washington. And there was a guy who was like ranting about the goal of the Nazis was to merge with the Asian race to create and I'm like, wait, hold on. What? You just made that? I was like, dude, the Nazis and Japanese were like allied. And I'm like, they never actually met at any point in battle. Like they were separated by half the planet. Like, that's ridiculous. The Nazis were like all about, like they were ridiculously racist. That's not true. But they just make these things up to explain why it is that Asian immigrants do really well. I learned something really crazy too. Filipino immigrants to the U.S. make way more on average than the average American.
Really?
Yeah, that surprised me.
That's interesting.
It surprised me because, like, of all of the East Asian nations, Southeast Asian, I would have assumed that like Filipinos would come here and be on par with like the average salary. Average is average, right? They do better. And I think it's I didn't look at the numbers for all the other, countries of origin, but I guess there's probably like legal immigrants probably make more money. I mean, they're willing. I don't think it's anything to do with I think what it has to do with is that these people are in their country saying, I'm going to work hard to go somewhere to improve myself. That kind of perseverance and mentality, they then come here and they keep working. They don't stop and they find that path to opportunity. But I found that really, really interesting because there's a lot of arguments when the left tries to talk about Asian people and say that they're not, that they're not a marginalized group, that they're actually oppressors because they're so privileged. They're typically talking about Chinese immigrants and Indian immigrants, and they ignore all of the other more like less wealthy Asian nations. But even the immigrants from many of these countries do better than the average American. I think we as Americans have a culture problem where we don't teach our kids to work hard. Thus, we end up with a bunch of people marching around, smashing things, arguing that they're owed something, they deserve things, but they're not working towards it.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a piece of advice too. The best advice is just do stuff. Because I could have said we're not going to do the show because everything was broken. And I'm like, I don't know, whatever, man, we're going to do it. And we're going to have a broken night or whatever. You just got to work hard. You got to try. You got to make stuff happen. But now it ends up where these people are getting into government. They're controlling schools, institutions. And you know what? I'll tell you this. I'm going to make a bold statement. Part of me, when these people yell like cops are bad or whatever, I immediately think, man, these cops who arrested small business owners, these cops who went to the McCloskey's house and took their guns. I mean, those cops for sure, I think, are bad.
Yeah. And it's incredible because when you're watching the video of them in Milwaukee, they called the police on that man. These people who hate cops and are anti-cop, they called the police and said he has a gun in his house. And then you can hear him on his own live stream snitching on the guy, being like, he was pointing the gun. Go get him. Go get him.
And the cops were like, okay.
They cheered for the police while they pulled him out of the house. And I was like, you raving hypocrites. I mean, we can't swear on here, luckily, because I mean, I have words.
You can swear if you want.
No,
I always just tell people that, like, so just so everyone who's watching knows, I always tell people swear, say whatever you want, but just realize like YouTube might penalize your content. So if you're, you want to say your thing.
I'm just saying, I have thoughts.
To clarify, there's no video of the guy pulling the shotgun, pointing or anything.
Well, in the video, the protesters or whatever you want to call them, the mob, they were live streaming it themselves onto this Facebook group, which is just doxing people's addresses and things like that. And you could see him in the window holding the gun.
Okay.
But he never confronted them. He never threatened them. They were threatening him with the bullhorn, and the police weren't there to do anything. They didn't stop these people. They didn't. I mean, it was like a scene from Beauty and the Beast when they're like Gaston's riling up the crowd and they're heading on horses up to the castle, except everybody was screaming incoherently and listening to Cardi B. It was really bad.
That's a really good analogy. Or not even an analogy, like that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
Gaston rallying the people to go riot. It's the beast. He's a beast. Go. We got to go. Bring your pitchforks. And it's like some drunk dude like chilling in his living room, like just watching Amazon or something. Who knows?
He must have been I was terrified. I have never been more afraid. And I think it's because my daughter was there, and she'll tell you all about it if you ask her. But I've never been more afraid because I didn't know how many people were out there. I didn't know if they were going to burst through my windows. They were hitting my window with like what sounded like a stick. When they came to your house, you're saying? Yeah. And I was so afraid. And normally I can handle myself pretty well. I think I'm pretty scrappy. I've been in my share of fights. But when you don't know how many people are out there, you don't know if they're going to come into your house. You don't know if they're going to burn your house down. I mean, there was flames shooting at my house. It's really scary. And I was holding a gun the same way he was. And I was ready to shoot. I was like, the second I see one of them pop through the window, my life is over, but my daughter's going to be safe.
It reminds me of like a zombie movie when they see the windows and there's a silhouettes banging on the window and then like the hands break through.
That's what it felt like.
And you got to like take a bat and like bash the arms. A
lot of times you hear the stories about stuff like that, but you always read it after the fact when they didn't take it to the next level.
Right.
But when you're in the moment, you don't know if it's about to.
Yeah. I was pleading with 911. I was like, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, when are you guys going to be here? And they were like, I don't know. There's people are spread out all over the city because there's riots.
That's why.
And I was just like, well, what am I supposed to do? And I was like, all right, I had a revolver. So I was like, I only have 6 shots. I'm going to take out the biggest one and make sure it's the men, because the women probably won't hurt my daughter. I mean, the things that went through my head were crazy. I mean, I think about it now and I'm frightened of my own thoughts.
Do you feel comfortable talking about what kind of weapon you had? I don't know, because some people say not to.
Oh, sorry, I just said it.
Oh, no. I'm talking about, like, you said you had a revolver.
Yeah.
But what kind? You know what I mean?
I don't even remember what it was.
Like, the caliber of bullet really matters.
I don't really want to get too
into
it.
I bought a bunch of guns.
You sure did.
I sure did.
What was 911's advice when you asked?
They told me to calm down, and I mean, the lady was very like unsympathetic, and I at one point I was like, well, how long is it going to take to get here? And she was like, well, I'm not coming. And I'm like, okay, thanks.
She said, I'm not
yeah,
coming?
and meanwhile my daughter is staring at me like, what is going on? And I'm telling her to like go lay on the floor next to her bed in case I have to kill people, and this lady's just like, well, I'm not the one that's coming. I mean, I was like, what is happening? And that was when I really that was the part that was the scariest. I felt like there was nobody that was going to come help me, because everybody, you could hear sirens everywhere, but they were going to fires. They were going, there was riot stuff happening everywhere.
That happened in New York during the riots, where this guy said he called 911 because someone had broken into his building and they were fighting. Yeah. And the response he got from 911 was, sir, our city is under attack. What would you have us do?
Yeah, that's basically what they said to me.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.